Cool.
So to begin with, what is an agent? There's a lot of debate over that, but simply an agent is just a system where it's given an environment to work in and a task, and they'll just spend time trying to solve that task until it gets a specific endpoint, and that's about it, and it returns the result. So the selling point here is that you do not have to program it on the how of the task. You just give it tools and then a goal. So what Amazon Bedrock Agent Core does is the rest of the stuff around the agent. It doesn't build the agent for you. You can bring your own agent, as you can see here, from any framework, any model, and they'll help you deploy it without having to think too much about the architecture behind it. So they'll provide you with memory so that your agent can remember conversations and details for future chats or depending on the task. So they'll provide identity so you can have authentication and some policy so you can put some rules around your agent and what can say or do, and some observability and evaluations, which you would have to kind of build yourself. So I've built an agent here, and you see the name of the agent, and it keeps versioning for you. I didn't have to do this myself. It kind of keeps track on the changes and versions the agent. You can see like these are all the versions, and you get all this observability right out of the box. How many sessions have been provisioned, the error rate, the peer consumption. So you don't have to deploy all this infrastructure yourself. That is handled by AWS. And you also get logging, so you can see the logs. You don't have to set that up yourself. All of it is set up for you. So we'll do a small demo. So what this agent does is you can give it a site, and it will scan that site for vulnerabilities and return a PDF form with all the vulnerabilities listed on the site. And you can see if I type anything here, it's not going to reply with anything other than the job that it's supposed to do. So you just ask for the URL that you want to scan. And let me grab that over here. I think that happened. Okay, so we're gonna just scan the ATM site. And so it asks, do you have permission to scan this site? So if I say no, it'll just quit. I'll just say yes. And so here it should look at this tool and start scanning. So it says, okay, I'm scanning the site. This is the job ID, and you can check the progress by typing status because the scanning takes a while. So it'll take a while. It's not going to return immediately. And you can see all this is created behind the scenes by AWS. You can look at the jobs, and this is an old one. There should be another folder here, which has the matching ID that you see here. So after a while, there'll be a folder with that ID created, and you can just check where it is. Okay, okay, so it's still scanning. So, so this kind of agent would be used in conjunction in a bigger system, right? Where you have your main agent that is orchestrating communication between these other smaller agents. But this one has a single job, right? So you can think of it as a tool available to another agent, right? So you have say a security agent, and he'll look at a site and assign this job to this agent to scan the site and return results, and then it will interpret results for the user. Let's check again where it is. So it's still scanning. And look at the job. See, now there's another folder here for the new job. may actually be done. So let's see if I ask it again, if it still does. Okay, so it's done now. As you can see the message in there, scanner complete, and it gives you like a pre-signed URL to look at the result. So I can look at the result of the scan of the ATM sites and see how many vulnerabilities there are. Doesn't look like there's any high risk ones, just low. And it'll show what the vulnerability is and what the solution would be to fix that. And this is using an open source tool that's available to anyone to use. So it knows that it has that tool. It knows that there's a tool to convert the JSON into a PDF. So in a bigger system, this result will be sent probably still in its JSON format to the main agent so that it can interpret the results for the user and recommend action, then kind of maybe produce a better form than this. As you can see, this form has like HTML tags. It's not really well designed. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And if you get in here, you see that there's logging, so you can go in and see exactly what happened. You can see the job ID and what bucket it was saved into. See the other metrics we have. So this is the metrics of the agent and how it's being called. That job was done on the invocations route. These are the ones that just health checks to see if the agent is up and running. But yeah, they offer a lot of things that just barely touch the surface here. There's like gateways if you want to connect to like external gateway to some other APIs, and the memories where it remembers all the other stuff that is sent to it, and some policies. But I didn't get to these, but this is a pretty much simple agent, but something complicated can be built here where you have an agent and it does some authentication before replying and you can talk to external APIs. So basically, their value proposition is handling all the infrastructure needed to host an agent.